Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov chess channel and welcome to a very special game from the TCEC season 23 bonus competition that's played now on the tcecchess.com official website. It's Bagatur versus Stockfish 15, the most powerful engine of the world. We'll see now again playing with the black pieces, and the cool part about this game is that we'll see again Stockfish 15 playing sort of a regular opening. I think we need to see more regular openings in the top engine world because many of these openings are played in top grandmaster level. Probably you want to also play sometimes some regular openings like the Spanish game, like the Italian game, and today we'll see how Stockfish handled now the Italian game with the black pieces. Today we'll see the beautiful Giuoco Pianissimo here played in top engine world. So it's, I think, an incredible game with really cool strategic ideas in the middle game stage, with then of course some wild tactical sequences that only Stockfish 15 can pull off in the later stage of the game. But I think it's an instructive game that you can use in order to understand better the Italian game, the so-called Giuoco Pianissimo. So before we start to analyze the game, I wanted to also tell you that Stockfish is again like usually in the lead of this TCEC season 23 bonus competition. It has, I think, around 85% win rate, which is really incredible when you think about it. Harder out of 100 games, Stockfish would probably win 85 games, which is really special what the Stockfish engine is doing now in the top engine world. So let's see now the game, Bagatur versus Stockfish 15 in the Giuoco Pianissimo. So here the first move is of course e4. We have e5 by Stockfish 15, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, bishop to c5. We have the symmetrical Italian. After move d3, d6, we have now the Giuoco Pianissimo. And okay, here c3, which is many times a normal idea to create a breakthrough here with the move d4, but now this move knight to f6 is preventing this kind of idea, because if you push the pawn to d4 too early, then your e4 pawn is a vulnerable square. So that's why here b4 played by Bagatur. If you play bishop to g5, then after kingside castling, h6 g5 is the main line. We have explained many times these types of ideas in some games that we have analyzed before, so you can also check it out. I will show you my playlist of the Italian game then at the end of the video. But so far, let's now analyze this line b4, which is also a normal idea. Here in the continuation, bishop to b6 has to be played now by Stockfish 15. So kingside castling, so we have reached now really position that has been played, I think, millions and millions of times. So here comes now one of the, I wouldn't say critical moments, but now one of the directed moves. I think this next couple of moves are showing basically where the game is going, because here the Bagatur engine plays now knight to d2, and in my opinion it's nothing wrong with this move, but I don't like this move. I like this expansion like a4, a5. Then after this moves, basically black is forced to play a6 or a5. At least we're forcing maybe here black to create some kind of a weakness here on the queen side. But after move knight to d2, Stockfish plays now a very interesting move, a really must move sort of. It's not a theoretical novelty or something. Many times this move has been played, but it's a must move, I think, in this particular position. Stockfish plays now beautiful knight to e7, and there are many things that can be said about this move knight to e7. Why is it so important? Because first of all, it liberates now this c file, and we can then play c6 d5. We can advance here in the center, we can break through in the center of the board, and we can maneuver also the knight to g6, where it's controlling for the e5 square. And this is very important, because if you play d5, so c6 d5, then the e5 is a little bit weak. And the cool part is now after move a4, you don't have to play any more a6 or a5 in order to create some breathing spaces for your dark square bishop. Now you play just c6 and everything is solved. So you basically play the same position without moving the pawn on or to a6 or maybe to a5. So this is must know, I think, maneuver sort of by the knight. It is sometimes weird to play with the same piece in the opening stage twice, but it's very necessary in order to get a beautiful position. Now the bishop will maneuver to c7, and now our d5 goal is really a realistic chance. So let's stop a little bit and evaluate now the position. And talk about the common strategies, obviously white will dominate here on the queen side. So white strategy here is an expansion on the queen side. On the other hand, I think now black should search maybe for the central breakthrough, especially because now of the possibility of the d5 goal. So it's now queen side attack versus central breakthrough. So here in the continuation, we have now a5, we have bishop to c7, bishop to b3, and now knight to g6 here by Stockfish 15, controlling further the e5 and preparing now finally the move d5. So we have a rook to e1 and now d5 immediately. And this is really beautiful because there is, I think, a rule which says in chess that only in central breakthrough is possible if you have a good control with your minor pieces. So I think when we talk about the development of minor pieces, that black is much better here, because look at this, the knight on f6 is on a good square, the knight on g6 is on a good square, although it's a little bit on the edge of the board, but you have the opportunity to jump with your knight here on f4. This bishop is maybe temporarily blocked out by its own pawn structure, but with the move d5 it could be liberated. So now this bishop will maybe come into the game. This bishop is good anyway, although it hasn't participated so far in the game, but it has, I think, so far at least a good control here on this diagonal. So black's pieces are much better, I think, especially because of the fact that the dark square bishop by white is blocked out here by the knight on d2. So that's why here after move d5 that Stockfish played, the problem for white is here that white cannot compete with a central breakthrough with the move d4. White would love to do this, but it's not possible. It wasn't played in the game. But I was really curious what would happen if, for instance, white plays too early now the move d4 with such a lack of development without playing with all of the pieces in the middle game stage. So it's not possible because of the sequence in the game. Here the Bagatur engine played queen to c2, but let's see now what happens. As I said, if you play here the move d4, it seems tempting, but actually it's not possible because of the beautiful piece activity that black has here. Black would immediately attack now the knight, would pin the knight, which is controlling now the d4 square, and now there are maybe some things that white could do. Maybe the most natural idea here is to play h3, getting rid of this annoying bishop. But now after bishop to f3, the problem is now you cannot take with this knight to f3 is not possible because of the vulnerable e4 square. So if you play here something like queen to f3, the problem is now, as we said, the lack of development. You don't have any connection with these rooks, although maybe these rooks are not connected, but at least the rook is connected to the queen. So there is a beautiful connection on the 8th rank between the heavy artillery here, between the queen and two rooks. On the other hand, this is not good for white. They're not connected, so that's why black would use now immediately the e-file in order to prove that actually white lost the battle on the e-file. Now you could maybe just spice up the game with this kind of move, e takes d5, but now after e takes d4, black is challenging now white on the e-file, and white has to accept now the challenge. Rook to e8, queen to e8. There are now some ideas of queen to e1 is really a huge threat. You could maybe try here something like c takes d4, but look at this, knight to f4 is going to happen. There is this very annoying chat, queen to e1 followed with the knight to e2, so you would be forced to play something like, I don't know, king to f1 is the must move, and now we just play knight to d5, or maybe even c takes d5, and now with this beautiful piece activity, with this maybe isolated pawn that now white could face here, black should be, I think, slightly better. So it's not possible. Also the b4 is weak, still the bishop is paralyzed a little bit here by the pawn structure, by also by the knight. So that's why here I think the d4 move is simply too fast for white, so white cannot compete now in the center of the board anymore. So it's very important to say that, because you understand now that here basically the Bagatur engine is saying, okay, I will expand on the queen side like in the beginning, and I have lost a little bit the battle in the center of the board. So here the continuation, we have queen to, after queen to c2, we have h6, we have c4, and now bishop to e6, controlling now for the d5 square. So we have now e takes d5, c takes d5, and now comes bishop to b2. Finally, Bagatur developed now the minor pieces, but Stockfish locks now the position, is playing now the move d4, is paralyzing for the dark square bishop, and still it's sort of a battle. Pawn here, pawn control, 2 versus 1, central control by black against one pawn against one pawn here by white. On the other hand, white still has this beautiful possibility here to expand on the queen side, but here in the continuation, b5 was played by Bagatur. c5, maybe to make some kind of a progress here immediately, it's not possible because you get simply knight to d5, because now there is no c pawn anymore. Now the knight will come maybe here to f4, maybe we'll play something like king to h8, maybe f5, f4, so the queen will come into the game. So here I think the centralized knight here on d5 is simply too much to handle here for white. So in the continuation we have b5. So now rook to e8 here by Stockfish. Stockfish wants now to maneuver maybe here somehow the knight, and is trying to get this goal, to get this maybe f5 goal. When that happens, then the game changes basically from a central control of blacks, will then change to a pawn majority attacks, because we have to also say here we have a 4 versus 3 situation on the king side in black's favor, of course, and black would probably left to expand now simply on the king side. So we have now a6, and this move is okay. You're creating at least some kind of a attacking possibility, but it's simply not working because of the move b6. And now basically here Stockfish 15 defended in a beautiful way. Stockfish paralyzed a little bit the potential breakthrough here by white. But even if you play something like c5 immediately, if you try to keep your attack going, then it's not so good, because you get simply bishop to a5. It's not working. You have to play something like bishop to e6, rook to e6, and you cannot move the knight. You cannot take out also this pawn on e5. It's protected twice, so you just lost the pawn, and here again black is much better, so it's not working. So in the continuation, as we said, a6 b6 was played by Stockfish. We have knight to f1. Here again, if you try c5, if you're trying to get something out of your pawn majority on the queen side, again it's not working. Stockfish probably played here really good defensive idea here. B takes c5 would be a simple continuation. Bishop to e6, rook to e6. You can maybe take out here the pawn on c5, but now with rook to b8 and rook to b6 would simply battle against this backward pawn on b5. I think it's a huge tactical problem now for white, and white could really lose the battle now on the b file. This e5 is also a backward pawn, but it's protected twice by the knight, by the bishop, so far also by the rook, but also knight to d7 can be played in order to have really a good control of this very annoying pawn on e5. So as I said, I think here white would lose the battle around the square b5 immediately. So that's why knight to f1, c5, as we saw, is not the possibility here for white. So knight to f1, but now Stockfish plays really a beautiful blockade idea. So Stockfish is saying, I will solve first my positional problems here around the square c5. When that is not possible, when we really paralyze the potential c5 breakthrough, then Stockfish will launch a flank attack here finally on the king side. So that's now the most important thing. Sometimes I think in chess we rush too much into the attack. Sometimes we forget about our opponent's plans. Now Stockfish is saying, I will first, as I said, slow down the pace, slow down the potential attack of my opponent, and then when we solve that problem, then it's time to attack. So we have knight to g3, rook to c8. So every move now by Stockfish is a paralyzing idea here and not allowing the move c5. So queen to d2, knight to d7, also trying now to cement the knight on c5. So we have knight to e4, bishop to f8, retreating from the attack of the knight, h3, and now finally f5. But only when every problem was solved around the square c5, then only Stockfish launched now finally the attack with move f5. So we have here knight to g3, we have knight to c5. It's really now beautiful to play now the game from black's perspective. I would love now to play now this particular position with the black pieces, especially because here of the potential pawn majority attack on the king side. So we have here now bishop to c2, bishop to d6. So Stockfish is still controlling this. We have to say it's a little bit weak pawn on e5, because it's the only way to maybe for white to make some kind of a progress here. But Stockfish protects it first. We have bishop to a3, king to h8, and now king to h1. If you play, of course, bishop to c5, then rook to c5 is perfectly fine. Still, we're controlling the c5 square, and we're controlling now further also the e5 square. So that's why king to h1. We have queen to f6. Finally, Stockfish has now fully developed himself, because now we have the queen out from the from the 8th rank, and now the rooks are also connected. So here in the continuation we have queen to d1, bishop to g8, and this move is very important because Stockfish wants now to move this knight, because here finally the rook is now connected also to the e5 square. Now the knight wants to be maneuvered, and now we want to launch maybe an idea of g5, maybe knight to f4 is here an opportunity in order to make further progress. So we have bishop to b2, knight to f4, very nice move. This knight is really hard to kick away now anymore from the square. We have king to g1, we have rook to d8. So again, Stockfish is not rushing. Stockfish is just improving every piece on the board. Now also Stockfish is saying the queen on the d file could be a little bit vulnerable. Something gets cleared on the d file, then the queen could be endangered. So we have queen to d2, bishop to a7. Again, a slow building up move here by Stockfish 15, and now after move rook from a to d1, now really the fun starts. Now Stockfish is saying, I basically don't have a better square for any of my pieces, and when that's the possibility, then it's time now to push it further. Now finally the move g5. So I'm not sure how many of us here would survive this position in any level of chess here with the white pieces. This is now monstrous attack that Stockfish is preparing here. Knight to e2, challenging this annoying knight. Knight to e6. Here Stockfish is saying, no, you will not simplify the game by trading off some more pieces. So knight to h2, we have h5. This is possible because Black is having here really a nice central control. You should always consider this rule in chess, which says flank attacks are possible when you have a control of the center of the board, and we have to say Black has a control of the center of the board, so that's why it's possible to attack the flank. So we have knight to g3, we have bishop to g6, queen to c1, rook to d7. This move is very important because Stockfish is noticing that maybe the queen could come here with a check, and then still we want to play something like rook to h7 and protect ourselves, but not only protect ourselves here from Black's perspective, we want to also include new attacker into the game on the h file. So here in the continuation we have knight to e2, we have g4. Stockfish is not losing any time now. Stockfish is just playing straightforward attack. So queen to h6, now comes this annoying check, but doesn't matter. Rook to h7, the queen has to retreat, and now f4. We have king to h1. If you try, of course, here h takes g4, h takes g4, knight to g4, okay, you won a pawn, but queen to h4 is simply winning the game. This king will be probably checkmated in a couple more moves. So after move king to h1, we have rook to g8. So this is really heavy attack by Stockfish 15. Look at this, every piece now is playing in really perfect attacking harmony. We have now g3, and here after f takes g3, f takes g3, now Stockfish plays a really beautiful attacking idea. Maybe you can pause the video and try to see now the first best continuation here for Black. So test your might, as I always like to say, test your might in chess. Try to see now the best continuation here. So maybe take your time and just try to make here really good progress. Okay, this is obviously a much better position for Black, but sometimes we even mess up this kind of a position, so that's why I think it's also something worth to study, attacking ideas here from Black's perspective. So okay, the best move, and of course Stockfish played it, is the move h4. So it doesn't matter if you, even if you lose the pawn here on g4, that's not the point of it, because there are not many things that you can do. You could maybe make this kind of an idea, g takes h4, but it's not possible because here of the move g3, knight to g3. But now look at this, the queen is coming into the game. You don't have to even play it like this. You can play even immediately queen to h4, because knight to g5 is never possible. Knight to g4, here we have even this one as an opportunity. We can also take out this one, it's a checkmate. So every move is simply bad here for white. So that's why you don't have, as after move h4, you can maybe try this one. You can maybe try h takes g4 in this way, but now after h takes g3, knight to g3, we can play immediately also here this kind of an attack. I'm not seeing good ways how white should defend this position. Even e4 I think is here a brilliant move. The bishop gets included into the attack, you will lose eventually the battle around the square h2, so it's also not working. So but in the game the only move that's prolonging the game, of course, for a white is now the move knight takes g4 that Bagatur played, but now you see the knight is deflected from the very important defense of the f3 square. Now the queen is coming into the game, queen to f3, we have king to g1, and now a brilliant tactical shot here by Stockfish 15, bishop to e4, and this is really a stunner. The idea is here to finally get this knight into the game here on g5. That's now the most brilliant idea here by Stockfish. So Stockfish is sacrificing a piece. If you don't react, then this long diagonal is unprotected, so you're facing some checkmate patterns here, so you have to take. D takes e4 was played by Bagatur, but now knight to g5 is coming into the game. Now we are trying to get this very annoying check on h3. So knight to f4 is the only move to somehow prolong the game, but now after move knight to h3, Stockfish sacrifices another piece, knight to h3, but now rook to g4. Really stunning tactical shot. You don't have time here to compete here on the g file, because you get simply rook to g3 and the queen is lost. So really nice tactical shot. So that's why queen to f2, we have rook to g3 anyway, king to f1, and now again a new check. We have king to e2, and now queen to h3. So this is a much better position. The king is naked here. d3 is here a possibility. So I really don't want to now count every move that goods for black. This is really immediately winning game, I think, here for black. So we have here now queen to f6, check, but it doesn't matter. Rook to g7. Here we have king to d2, and now bishop to e7 is simply winning the game, because now the bishop is getting towards this diagonal and the king is naked. So that's why queen to e5 has to be played. Bishop to g5, a very annoying check. We have queen to g5. The queen had to be sacrificed for the bishop, and it was simply game over. If you play, of course, king to e2, then queen to g2 is simply winning the game. It's a beautiful checkmate. So that's why queen to g5, as we said. We have we have a rook to g5, bishop to d4, rook to g2, and now the knight is coming into the game. Knight to b3, king to b2, knight takes d4, rook to d4. Now it's easy to play the game here from black's perspective. Rook to f6, a couple of checks, another problem. Rook to d7 is not possible anymore. The queen is covering that square, so that's why king to c1, rook to a3. Now just prolong the game by sacrificing more pieces. We have queen to d3, attacking the bishop, check, and here after move queen to d1, it was a beautiful checkmate. So really stunning game, I think, and it's beautiful how Stockfish played really the slow build up in the middle game stage, didn't rush into the attack, although Stockfish had a better position for a long time. But sometimes in chess, I think we rush. Sometimes we don't include all the pieces into the game. This was a perfect example how Stockfish included all of the pieces in the game when the position was solved on the queen side, when Stockfish blocked out the position on the queen side. Then Stockfish launched a flank attack, included then every piece into the game, and then striked again with a further flank attack on the king side. Really a beautiful strategic game here. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Giuoco Pianissimo. If you want to see more about this opening, some more games that we have analyzed so far on my YouTube chess channel, it is a beautiful opening. Here's the link of our playlist. And if you want to see more Stockfish 15 games and more brutal top engine games, check out my commented chess games played by computer series with some more games played by Alpha Zero, Lila Zero, Stockfish 15, and many more. And if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.